Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and good afternoon, Mr. Chairman. Yesterday in the Senate hearing, you had a conversation about some of your concerns about Dodd-Frank. You didn't have much time to answer that question. Would you mind sending me in writing a little more detail on all of your concerns with Dodd-Frank? Maybe say in 2 weeks?
Sure, but we don't have a long list of specifics at this point. I do think it would be a good thing for Congress to review.
But if you wouldn't mind sending you and the friends, I would appreciate that. Is that fine?
Certainly.
2 weeks? Would be fine. 2 or 3 weeks?
As soon as we can.
You have a big team. All right. Quickly, I want to talk about the debt. So roughly we...
Turn on your microphone, sir.
Oh, sorry. Roughly we spend about, what, $225 billion a year to service our $16.5 trillion in debt. Is that right? Roughly?
Sounds about right.
Okay, and for the CBO, for every additional point that our interest rates go up, it costs us an additional $100 billion a year to service the debt. Does that sound right?
Yes.
So if you stop with your accommodative monetary policy, we could see interest rates rise, 2-3%, right? So we'd have an additional $200 to $300 billion of additional dollars going to service our current debt. Fair to say?
That's right. CBO takes this into account in their projections.
And so, for me, I look at that and say, listen, this is a $500 billion a year to service our current debt, $5 trillion over 10 years. I look at this and, I see the lights going off, the sirens are blaring, and I'm almost setting a proverbial can on my counter, and you're kicking it, saying, listen, don't worry about $85 billion in cuts. Do it a different day. Listen, I listen to what you're saying, and I think you're giving cover to a set of policies that aren't responsible. And we're all going to pay the price for the fiscal irresponsibility. And instead of encouraging responsibility, you come in and say, listen, to cut 2% of our budget, you can't do it. It's going to have a great impact on our economy. That, Mr. Chairman, that doesn't make sense to me.
Well, I think most economists, including the CBO, would say that this will cost a lot of jobs in the short run, and you can achieve the same results with longer-term programs.
And so on that point, how many jobs are lost if we cut the $27 million that go to Moroccan pottery classes, or the $2.2 billion in free cell phones? We pay $700 billion to see how long on a treadmill. I believe we pay for the travel expenses for the watermelon queen in Alabama. There is fat in the budget, and I think every American looks at how we spend our money, and they go, I can cut 2% out of my family budget. Small businesses can say, I can cut 2% out of my budget. But you come in and tell us, listen, I agree with the president. It is catastrophic. It's catastrophic if you cut 2%. Mass mayhem in our economy. I find that to be unbelievable.
Well, the sequester is not designed to cut wasteful stuff. It's across the board.
So then, are you here telling us that if we cut $85 billion in a more reflective way in the bad spending that I just referenced, you would support it? It's a good idea if we're not doing it by way of the sequester, but we have a little more reflective analysis.
It would be
better.
$85 billion? It would be better.
So is it better, or you would agree with us that we should actually reduce spending?
I'm still concerned about the short-run impact on jobs, and you don't get as much benefit as you think, because if you slow the economy, that hurts your revenues, and that means your deficit reduction is not as big as you think it is.
So the revenues that we get from the Moroccan pottery classes and the $2.2 billion in free cell phones, and the list goes on, Mr. Chairman, that is a great driver of economic growth in our country? Is that your position?
Most of the spending goes to the military and to transfer programs like Social Security and Medicare. And
there's a lot of fat, and you can find 2% fat that doesn't affect our military, doesn't affect our meat inspectors.
I also said in my testimony that not all spending and taxes are the same. I very much advocate trying to make good decisions about how you tax and how you spend. So
you agree there's fat, and that you would encourage us to cut the fat, because if you weren't interjecting your policy, this would be a $500 billion expense to the American government, almost what we spend on our military.
I think it's obviously a good idea to improve our fiscal budgeting and to make better decisions, certainly.
I know you like to say you stick to monetary policy, but you do come in here and you talk about fiscal policy all the time. And if you don't like our approach to trying to reduce how much we spend, and you want to kick the can down the road, and I don't have much time, 15 seconds, if you wouldn't mind supplying in writing your plan for a long-term fiscal approach, I would appreciate that, because whenever we try to cut spending, you come at us and say, don't cut spending today. No, cut it tomorrow. if you have a better plan on how we can have a long-term approach to fix this problem, if you'd submit that in writing too, I'd appreciate it, Mr. Chairman. Thank you. Yield back.
Time of the gentleman has